Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, of course, the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. They're big. And they're awfully good. Best I ever had, probably be the best you ever had as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call. Find out what's for dinner at 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. All right. Of course, they always get an astounding round of applause here on the Sports Circus. Boy, that's good stuff. Give them a call, email them, info@uppercutchops.com. It's great stuff, folks. If you've never had these gigantic steaks or even Wagyu in the first place, prime Wagyu, not the garbage that you get at pick your favorite fast food place, but I do like fast food places, but check out prime, USDA prime Wagyu. It is like something you've never had before. I kid you not. The burgers themselves, oddly enough, you don't need anything on them really except a little salt, a little pepper. That's it. In fact, when I make them, I put, this is not a food show, but I'm going to mention food anyway. When I get one of those off the grill or whatnot, I'll melt some pepper jack on it, put it on a brioche bun, and put some butter lettuce on it. And oh, is it good? You don't need condiments and all this other crap. No, it's outstanding. UppercutChops.com. Once again, you won't regret it, folks. It's really good. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, as well as everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, and Time Warner Cable affiliates, and Wow Cable TV as well, plus Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast in all Nielsen-rated markets. Of course, they always get a round of applause because we're getting about 4 million impressions per hour. For all those people who are wondering, how the hell do you get your show out there? How do you get all these people watching and stuff? We'll get back to that maybe at the beginning of the next segment or the next one after that. I don't know. How about this? How about the NBA draft? First round, some surprises. But then again, look, people say, well, let's go ahead and assign a draft grade, which I think is it's the stupidest thing ever. Because they say, well, we're going to go ahead and assess what your pick was and what your options were and all this other crap. And it just basically gives these organizations something else to sell, right? Because what are they doing? They're selling advertising, right? So let's keep everybody right on the hook with these ridiculous analyses of X, Y, and Z. So, I mean, like, this draft didn't have like that big, wow, it had big guys, but they didn't have the big marquee names, right? It didn't have that. It didn't have like the biggest names that have come out of college basketball or the draft, whatever. But what it did have is a lot of good players, a lot of very good players, solid players. And they were from, of course, our championship teams that we saw in the championship game of the NCAA tournament, right, with Purdue and Connecticut. But also we had some good European players and some G League players. And honestly, people put so much stock into this draft thing, which I have a real problem with. And my problem goes back to, why do we have this big cat show in the first place, right? It's kind of like the NFL Combine, right? We have this Combine. We have the NBA Combine, right? We have this college basketball Combine as well. Look, the NFL one is the biggest cat show of all because what do you have? Oh, that's right. You got a bunch of guys running around with no pads on. So it's not a true depiction of what they're capable of in the first place, which is very, very deceiving as I see it. But then again, it's just my opinion and I'm entitled to it. I mean, look, while there was no real runaway number one pick heading into the draft. France was on the marquee for the second consecutive year. How do you like that? After good old Victor was the prize of the 2023 draft. I mean, that guy's good. He's really good. And he was NBA ready, too. I mean, look, 4 French players led by the number one pick to Atlanta and followed by Alex Sarr, the Wizard, number 2, etc., etc. They were selected on the first night of the draft in the first round. I mean, that deserves a round of applause because it's not very often that happens. And so when you look at what these teams have actually bought into, you say, we want NBA-ready players. And I remember when this conversation was going on a few years back with Luka Doncic. And this guy, how many teams passed up on him? The reality is, he's European and we don't know. Their style of basketball is a little bit different over there. They don't play the physical game like we do. Yeah, and how's that working out? For all those teams that passed on him, guess what? I don't know, last I've seen, he's hoisted the Larry O'Brien trophy. Last I saw, he has done that. Not this year. Of course, he was in the finals this year because Boston won it this year. But reality is, these players that come over from Europe, they are game ready. And I'm not to say that our players here in the United States are not ready, but it seems as though they're physically tested a very different way. And I'm not really sure how it would ever look. I'm not in the basketball business. But what I can tell you is the European players, they are ready. And the NBA teams are taking notice. Like, you know what? We may want some of these guys. And we've seen some of this even in baseball, too. Some of these Japanese players that are coming over, some of the Korean players that are coming over, some of the Taiwanese players that are coming over are at the same level or caliber as what we've seen from the Cuban players, the Dominican players, the Venezuelan players, the Puerto Rican players, which is still part of the U.S. anyway. My point is not on the mainland U.S. And so we're seeing this in basketball, too. I mean, look, college stars like Kentucky's Reed Sheppard went number 3 overall. And the biggest head scratcher, in my opinion, is Donovan Clingan from Connecticut somehow magically goes ahead of Zach Edey. I'm sorry, but that doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me. When Zach Edey absolutely dominated Donovan Clingan and the balance of the Connecticut players in what? Oh, that's right, in the NCAA championship game. If that was not the biggest stage for a draft highlight reel, nothing was. How Zach Edey went number 9 to Memphis, I have no damn clue. But good for Memphis for picking him up because Memphis, he actually fits right in. And you know what's really cool? The proximity between West Lafayette and Memphis. This really couldn't have been a better pick unless it was maybe the Indiana Pacers taking Zach Edey, but he wasn't available at that time. But reality is, there's going to be a lot of traffic back and forth between the greater Indianapolis area, West Lafayette, Indiana, where Zach Edey played at Purdue University, and Memphis. It was really a relatively short drive. I mean, look, their names were all called early, the ones I'm telling you about. But while there weren't many surprises in round 1, Tennessee star and SEC Player of the Year, Dalton Neck, went 17th overall to the LA Lakers. And you know what's interesting is the SEC has really come about in their striving in basketball, outside of Kentucky, of course, and Vanderbilt's always been pretty good in basketball as well. And they've got some other good squads over there. But you know what I'm saying? Look, Alabama's really stepped it up in basketball. Auburn has really stepped it up in basketball. And Auburn actually was solid anyway. Of course, that's for our friends over at WAUD 1230 AM over in Auburn, Alabama. But Auburn's been solid. Alabama, they've gotten good over the last handful of years. And, of course, we've had some of the other clubs. Oklahoma's been solid. Now, of course, they're in the SEC, which is maddening to imagine, along with Texas. But LSU has been solid, of course, going all the way back to even before Shaquille O'Neal. The reality is the SEC has really stepped it up. They've gotten better. The Big Ten has been solid, period. They've been solid. And, the Pac-12 is no longer really. You've got 2 teams, Washington State and Oregon State now. And, of course, eventually they're either going to rebuild the Pac-12, unlikely, or I would imagine Oregon State and Washington State may migrate over to the Mountain West Conference because I guess if you look at it from a logistical standpoint, I mean, location-wise, they are exactly where they need to be. But it's a big step down, and they control many, many hundreds of millions of dollars right now in TV revenues and in conference revenues or conference payoffs and so forth. So I'm not sure. But anyway, back to this whole draft situation. I mean, look, you have to ask yourself, is it better to draft an unknown rather than to build through free agency in basketball? I don't know. I mean, for me, I look at basketball as you'll get the hype of a player, just like in football. There's really no true minor league system like you have in hockey and like you have in baseball. So in football, you've got the SEC and the Big Ten, really, and now the Big 12, right? Let's not leave out the ACC. But when it comes to basketball, what do you have? You've got a G League. Basically, that's it. Or you can go play somewhere else around the world. So why would you build through a draft where you can maybe take one or two guys and kind of roll the dice on them? But at the end of the day, if you can build through free agency, that would be the thing that makes the most sense because these are proven players at that top level of the game. Now, it's just my opinion, folks, but yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more, but at the same time, you're not wasting time with your fans and your fan base and concession and the door and everything else that comes with it. In fact, we're going to pick up on that when we come back from the break in just a few minutes here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. floor without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are a podcast. No, we don't do a podcast. However, all of our recorded shows in their entirety are available on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, Google, Spreaker, Stitcher, you name it, we're there, iHeartRadio. You can't get away from us. Also, folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com's upcoming schedule. Right, we've got some great guests coming up, as well as our partners. Check out the partners page. And one of those, of course, is Al's number one Italian beef over at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago. And of course, we like to call them out because that's in Chicago's Little Italy. And of course, that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And at the end of the day, it's great food over there at Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. But make sure you check out Al's Italian beef. Since 1938, they've been serving up great Italian beef sandwiches. In fact, they are the creators of the Italian beef sandwich in the first place. This one goes out to all of our friends at Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Chicago Food Favorites. Make sure you like, follow. You don't have to subscribe. Just like and follow. Participate. Post your recipes. Whatever. Your favorite restaurants. I don't give a damn. Have some fun with it, folks. It's a lot of fun. I like it, and you'll like it too, along with the other 1,000+ other people that are there. All right. So now all that said, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees. We're going to get to them in a minute. And the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in, and the San Francisco 49ers, by the way. And welcome in everybody up and down the West Coast from San Diego all the way up to Seattle, across through Denver, Salt Lake as well, all the way to Chicago, Chicagoland, of course, down to Texas. Big hello to our friends over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD. That's 12:30 a.m. home of the Atlanta Braves. And, of course, WDJY 99.1 FM over in Atlanta. We're on there. Well, we're on at 8 a.m. every day over there. So sometimes, our recording time may be a little bit off, but we're just literally a couple of hours off. So you're not getting old, stale content. No, you're just getting it at different times. Because in Auburn, for example, we're on at 6 p.m. there. I think it's 6 p.m. Yeah, 6 p.m. over there. And then in Atlanta, we're on at 8 a.m. In Honolulu, we're on at 3 p.m. So we're all over the board, folks. And all the other stations, other 215 stations, they play at different times as well. Some are live, some are not. Kind of like sometimes you feel like a nut, and sometimes you don't. Anyway, the point is, you're all getting good content. It's a lot of fun. And in fact, if you want to participate, go ahead and give us a call. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. I will answer the phone. Just don't use any bad language, because then we got a real problem. I don't want to get sent to the principal's office, if you know what I mean. Because that could be like, I don't know, $100,000 fine if you're not watching your language. All right. So just kind of wrapping up this NBA draft thing. Look, I had mentioned free agent building in basketball makes a lot of sense. And largely, if you're not going to draft a bunch of guys together that are going to stay together and grow together, whether it's basketball or football. Basketball, you don't have that many choices, right? Because there's only so many spots on the floor. In football, you could draft 2, 3, 4 guys maybe from the same conference, the same team. They played against each other, whatever. The point is you could actually do that and grow them in the system because the rosters are so big. Basketball, you really can't do that. So it seems to me that, yeah, you'll go get yourself a star player, but you really ought to consider the idea of building through free agency. And the teams that have done that over time, that have been successful, they have held winning campaigns year in and year out. And it's like, all right, we'll plug and play somebody. We saw the Golden State Warriors do it. The Boston Celtics will do it. Chicago Bulls have done it. And on we go. The Lakers have done it. Look, end of day, when you think about those successful franchises, you say, well, what does it take to build a winning team and sustain a winning team? You've got to have your anchor players, maybe your big three, big two, big four, whatever the hell it is, right? The Bulls had their big three. Utah, of course, they had Stockton, Malone, for example. And, of course, you had, the Lakers with, like, the big team, the big 4 or 5, whatever. And the Celtics with their big 4 or 5. The point is, in today's time in free agency, it's crazy because when you look at the size of these contracts, you scratch your head and say, well, how the hell is this guy getting $200, $300 million to play this game? It doesn't make sense. The TV contracts say it makes sense, but the ticket prices make it not make sense, if you know what I mean. Concession, parking, tickets, souvenirs, and all that stuff. So you scratch your head and say, wait a minute, where's the value here? Well, we have to keep people in the seats. Now, if we have a bad product year in and year out, we're trying to draft. Well, guess what? That hasn't worked. That ship has sailed. You better bring some free agents in here and start winning some games, start making the fans happy, because if you don't make the fans happy, what's going to happen? The fans aren't going to come out, and you're not going to get ticket sales. You're not going to get concession. You're not going to get parking. You're not going to get souvenir sales and all this other crap that goes along with it, right? And people buying the TV, special TV channels and stuff like that so they can actually see it on TV. So end of day, what are we really trying to do here? In basketball, it would seem reasonable to assume that you build largely through free agency. So with the whole NBA draft thing, yeah, it's great. There's some hype and there's a couple of good players that are going to end up on each team, whatever. But then you're going to have other players that could come in that are, I don't know, they're undrafted free agents. And a lot of times you get really good players there too, and they don't cost a bunch of money. But the problem is you've got to find out what they've done, where they've played, who they've played against, what they could do against NBA caliber talent, and all this other stuff. So again, we think about drafting through free agency, and I'm going to beat this one to a pulp. NBA teams, in my opinion, largely should be built through free agency. All right, enough of that. Speaking of free agency, how about let's go to Major League Baseball. Let's think about the New York Yankees, who notoriously build through free agency. And what they'll do is they'll grow their players. Now, actually, they're quite smart, generally speaking. They will grow their player base through the system. And they'll have some really good players come up. But the Yankees sell them off to see if they turn out to be what they would have thought they were, what they developed them to be. And then when they're good, then they'll buy them back. Right? So they basically have this big stockpile of a very good minor league system, and you've got a lot of players in there in your stables, right? So let's go ahead and get rid of those, and let's take a whole bunch of guys back and develop those, right? So we're going to build our inventory, and then we'll have enough to trade back to get some of those players that we dealt off, that we built the inventory from in the first place. Actually, it's kind of like having your money work for you. And the Yankees with 27 World Series championships, something tells me they may be onto something. Except, of course, if you're playing the New York Metropolitans. Look at this, folks. Yes, for everybody watching on TV, there's Mr. Met on TV. There he is. All right, everybody on Facebook, everybody on streaming, wherever the hell you're streaming this, you can see I'm wearing Mr. Met today. And it's because it was the New York Metropolitans with a good old-fashioned ass whipping on the New York Yankees. Oh, yeah, folks. I mean, we're talking about a dominant 3-game sweep. It didn't matter where they were playing because guess what? They're playing in New York. So the Yankee fans will go to the Mets Stadium. Mets fans will go to the Yankee Stadium. Well, not maybe as many. But ultimately, we looked at the Mets just have their way with the New York Yankees. And frankly, it was a little embarrassing. I don't know. I got no dog in the fight other than the fact I got Mr. Met hat and I've got a Yankees hat in the other room in case, of course, the Yankees would have won the series, their Subway Series, if you know what I mean, right? So, of course, that always deserves a round of applause. I got a Yankee jersey hanging in there. It's another story for another time. But the funny thing is, a lot of teams have written off the Mets. And they say, well, the Mets, are they going to be sellers? They're probably going to be sellers. We don't know really what they're going to do when it comes to this whole, the trade deadline and so forth. And a lot of people ask these questions, they say, well, wait, what do the Mets have? Well, the Mets have a lot of pieces. They seem to forget that. Mr. Cohen has done a very good job of building the New York Metropolitans. And so for all those people that think the Mets don't have anything, well, I can assure you they have plenty of talent. The fact that they're playing 500 ball, yeah, they're 13 games out, but people say, well, let's look at that wild card thing. Do the Mets even have a shot? Well, in reality, in the National League, the Mets really are, a game and a half out of the last wild card spot. And believe it or not, the St. Louis Cardinals have taken that over. And look, that wild card thing has really tightened up. In the wild card of the National League, you've got Atlanta at 10 games over 500. Atlanta really trails Philadelphia by a lot of games right now. I think they're about 9 games back. And San Diego is kind of holding on. San Diego's going to make a move. Watch and see if the White Sox and the Padres don't make a deal because they've got some injury issues there. And actually, the Atlanta Braves, with Ronald Acuna Jr. out the entire season now, he's really the best player in baseball. And I said that at the beginning of the season. I'll say it at the end of the season. Ronald Acuna Jr. is the best player in baseball. But Ronald Acuna Jr., I'm going to get to the Mets back in a minute. Ronald Acuna Jr. is a really big loss for the Atlanta Braves. Oh, just like Spencer Strider, right. But the reality is Atlanta could make a deal with the Chicago White Sox. Why not? Let's just move all the good White Sox players over there because Luis Robert Jr. is available and the White Sox will take a huge haul back for him. But Luis Robert Jr. is a player just like Ronald Acuna Jr. Hits home runs. He's a 5-tool player. And what are the 5 tools? Hit for power, hit for average, great arm, great speed, and great arm strength. Listen, Luis Robert Jr. is a perfect fit for the Atlanta Braves. And of course, San Diego's going to say, well, we've got something to say about that too. We're missing, our guys as well, right? With Fernando Tatis just went down. The reality is he's also an outfielder. I think that Luis Robert is a better fit for the Atlanta Braves. We're going to come back with more baseball in just a few minutes on the Circus. Lots more to come. Stay put. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, this segment is brought to you by... What do we want to make this brought to you by? How about Chicago Food Favorites over on Facebook? Yeah, we'll do that one. Just because we can. Check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook and make sure you like and follow and participate. Have some fun with it, folks. Post your favorite recipes, your favorite restaurants. I don't know, midnight snacks. Maybe you like to bake. I put all kinds of fun stuff up there. It's all free. It's all fun. Just like this show, you never know where it's going to go. It could be food. It could be music. It could be film. You never know. We've got actually some news for you, and it's going to come up after the baseball discussion here, after the standings in just a moment. But make sure you go to Facebook and follow and like Chicago Food Favorites and tell all your friends. It's a lot of fun. All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. You know who you are. Everybody else streaming, you know who you are. All right, back with baseball. And I was talking about the New York Mets just handing the New York Yankees their hats and just giving them a good old-fashioned ass whooping. And you got to like that every now and then. Look, it's kind of like every now and then, at some point, everybody needs a good ass kicking. Everybody does, including myself. We've all had those, and I've had my share of those from my mom when I was a kid growing up, of course, and that was no fun, I can assure you, because she hit straight, and she, rest her soul, man, she hit hard. She grew up in the toughest part of the city, and man, it was no joke. When you got in trouble, the whole neighborhood knew when my mother got home. The front door would slam, and then it would be heard half a block one way, half a block the other way. It was just that way. And man, she meant business. She worked at the police station on top of it. So we had to really be on our best behavior. But anyway, every now and then, every baseball team needs an attitude adjustment. And you have to ask yourself, well, which teams are playing so far either above or below their heads right now? And let's stick with the National League. Because the Philadelphia Phillies, I mean, they're playing... 26 games over 500 right now. I mean, they are just rolling. And why is it that they're just rolling? Do they need an ass kicking? I don't know. I would say some fans in Atlanta would certainly agree with that. Some fans in New York with the Metropolitans would certainly agree with that. However, Philadelphia has what? Because of the injury to Spencer Strider, now Philadelphia, in my opinion, arguably has the best pitching staff as far as the starting four in baseball. And you say, well, wait a minute. Is that really true? Because, you know, a lot of other teams have some good players too. Yes, they have good players. But what have they done? I mean, look, I'm a fantasy baseball player like a lot of other people, and I follow fantasy baseball, but I look at the statistics and all the crap of what their guys have done, and I have to tell you, it doesn't matter whether you roll one in, roll one out. They're a plug-and-play system. How the Philadelphia Phillies have built their starting rotation and maintained the rotation. Look, they're no joke. From Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez. I mean, this guy's pitching out of his mind right now, right? And you also have, oh, that's right, you have Mr. Sanchez and you have Taijuan Walker as your number 5. Those guys can pitch that damn ball. And no question, you've got a very good caller at the behind the plate as the field general in Real Muto. That's a tough name to say. But think about this. The only real weakness, as I see it, now I'm looking at the roster and the depth chart for the Philadelphia Phillies right now. Left field is a little bit weak. David Dahl, Whit Merrifield, I don't really buy into that. Brandon Marchand in center field, pretty good. Castellanos in right field, pretty good. Third base, Bohm makes a lot of errors. The left side of the field, they've got some problems over there. And I've seen Alec Bohm, and I've got him on my fantasy baseball team. I've seen Alec Bohm make 3 errors in one game. I mean, look, he's a good player, but he needs to learn how to play third base. Shortstop locked up with Trey Turner. Bryson Stott, second base. Bryce Harper, first base. Look, these guys are pretty solid up the middle and on the right side. The left side, they need some work. Now, they also need some work, as I see it, in the bullpen. Yes, you've got a decent couple of guys in there. You've got Spencer Turnbull, who is a starter, came over from the Detroit Tigers, and he is one of the relievers. I guess you can call him a setup guy, maybe long relief. And Alvarado, of course, being the closer. So I'm not so sure, but so far from what I see, the relief pitchers are a little bit soft. I wouldn't say Hoffman, Soto, or Dominguez are that good. Dominguez was a closer previously, but I would think at the deadline that you might even see the Phillies try to make a deal with the White Sox because they've got a couple of guys in the bullpen that could probably help them out. So we'll give them, maybe their bullpen, a nice little serenade of boom. Let's see if that works. You know what? There it goes. You see, sometimes, folks, things do go wrong here, but at the end of the day, it's all what? It's live, and anything could happen. We say that all the time because it's fun, and you really never know because we could have technical difficulties, which we do quite a bit. But anyway, the Phillies are absolutely solid, and you ask yourself, well, who else in that division is going to take it from the Phillies? So let's go back to the Atlanta Braves. I mean, look, the Atlanta Braves, they have a loaded team, but they're missing a couple of key pieces of the puzzle too. And therein lies a very, very, very large problem for Atlanta because when you look at them, you say, well, wait a minute. Spencer Strider has been lost for the year. Chris Sale has come in and done a wonderful job, and Chris Sale is that guy. Make no mistake, Chris Sale, he was a superstar when he came into the league with the White Sox, yes, mind you, but he's also that guy today where, I mean, let's face it, this is a good situation when it comes to the Atlanta Braves from top to bottom. I mean, you've had guys get hurt and you've had other people step up. So they have turned into a plug-and-play organization as well where, I mean, look, they're just good. I don't care what you throw out there because it's the next man up mentality for the Atlanta Braves. You know, we saw that with the Arizona Diamondbacks last year, next man up mentality. And look at them around the outfield, right? With Forrest Waller, Adam Duvall, maybe out in left field, Michael Harris II, in center fielder. I mean, this guy is good. And you have a little question, Laureano or Duvall out in right field. I don't know, but that's going to be solved because I believe that Luis Robert Jr. is going to go out there to Atlanta. Over at third with Riley, Arcia at short, and Ozzie Albies at second, playing great. Matt Olson playing out of his mind since he came over. And, of course, you've got two really good catchers right there. But let's take a look at that starting rotation. So now you weigh them pound for pound against the Philadelphia Phillies. Max Fried, is he a matchup for Zach Wheeler? Absolutely. They cancel each other out. Chris Sale, the number 2, he and Aaron Nola? Yeah. Charlie Morton, man, the guy's 41 and he's still doing it. Is he as good as Ranger Suarez? I think he's proven. Ranger is not as proven. And Reynaldo Lopez, yes, came over where? From Chicago, from the White Sox. And the guy was a strikeout pitcher over there. And guess what? He's doing it in the number 4 slot of the rotation for the Atlanta Braves right now. But now here's the big difference. Closer for closer, they cancel each other out. No question. And I would also say the relief pitching certainly goes to Atlanta over Philadelphia. Eventually, Atlanta may catch Philadelphia with Minter, Jimenez, Pierce Johnson, Aaron Bummer, a tremendous slider. Where's Aaron Bummer from? The Chicago White Sox, right? And then you've got Lee and Chavez. Look, the relief pitching is so much better, in my opinion, in Atlanta over Philadelphia. It's just a matter of time, because when Atlanta gets healthy or makes a deal here or there, eventually these two are going to probably see each other in the playoffs. And look, we know Philadelphia can knock the cover off the ball. Well, guess what? Atlanta could do the same thing too. Why are we spending so much time in this? And why are we excluding the New York Mets? We're not. Because the Mets may not be fighting necessarily for that division, but what the Mets are actually fighting for may be a wild card spot. And the thing is, when you look at who they're competing against, they're really competing against San Diego and, I don't know, look up and down the roster here of teams. They may be competing, I'm going to guess, with, well, St. Louis, of course. But I'm also going to throw in, you're going to laugh at me for this one, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Because it's the same Diamondbacks team from last year as it is this year. And the Diamondbacks are a very, very good squad. Make no mistake of it. Remember, Zach Gallen is on the shelf right now. They're ace. So those guys not only can pitch the ball, they can hit the ball, but they do everything, all the little things in the game. Remember, last year's World Series was a really good World Series. It was fun. And you saw the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, two teams that you wouldn't have thought were going to be in there. But these were two teams that were really, they played two different ends of the game. Arizona played small ball, and they were really good at it. And then you had Texas, who played the long ball. They had 5, 6, 7 guys that could take you out of the yard on a regular basis. But now, it's the same Arizona Diamondbacks team that's going to be fighting with the New York Mets. So maybe the Mets are going to be buyers. I predict the Mets are going to be buyers at the deadline. And I don't know. I don't think San Francisco is going to have enough. Even though they have the same, essentially they're a half a game behind Arizona, I don't think the Giants are going to be buyers. In fact, I think the Giants are going to be sellers. They're going to try to stockpile. All right, folks, back here in a few for the last segment on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, this segment is brought to you by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. That's csncoyotes.com for more information and tickets to events. csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! Of course, they get an astounding round of applause as soon as it shows up here. That's the Kung Fu applause. Yes! Kind of like a Kung Fu movie, right? So the voice will not match the lip sync or the words or whatnot. It's the same kind of thing, if you know what I mean. It's kind of goofy. All right, welcome back, everybody, on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television, and in hotels from coast to coast on Hotel TV. Thanks for joining us in over 500,000 rooms, gaining about 4 million impressions per hour. By the way, folks, maybe you're thinking about doing your own show. If you're thinking about doing your own show, maybe you want to have your own podcast. Of course, that's in air quotes, podcast. So that would mean that you're just going to go do a recorded show. You're going to record it. You're going to store it somewhere, and somebody's going to have to go out and find it. So we do a live show in some places, and we do a recorded show, but we do a radio and television show. Right, and so the deal is with this. Look, we make mistakes all the time on here, but it's live, it's on the television, it's on the radio, in some places live. And look, we are companions to the drivers or passengers or commuters or even those people sitting at home, whatever, watching in their living room or at the beach watching on their tablet, whatever the hell it is. So you know where to find us at a particular time every day. We've been doing this. This is our 8th year, by the way, in doing this. And we're coming up on a couple thousand shows. It's a lot of shows. But more importantly, if you want to create your own content, maybe say, you know what, I'm better than that guy. I'm better than this one over there, that one over there. I know I could do a better job. Okay, fine. Maybe you want to do a better job. Maybe you want to produce and host your own show. Well, guess what? Not everybody knows how to produce them. But we, over here, know how to do what? Produce, broadcast, edit, and distribute. That's the key. We know how to distribute the shows to the radio and TV stations, etc., etc. Okay, so if you want to learn a little bit more, give me a call, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. You notice it's the same number. You know why? Because I pick up the phone and I actually answer the phone. I'm the one telling you about it, so I'm the one that's going to explain to you more and more about it. Now, how many hosts actually do that? Yes! That's my patented yes! So don't take that either. All right. So now if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. And by the way, on our partners page at thesportscircus.com, this is kind of cool. There is a book that's on there, and it's called La Sorda University. This is a fun book. It's Zach Manassian's depiction of his experience, maybe a year with the Ogden Dodgers, with Tommy Lasorda. Great stories from way back in the day. great Tommyisms, but incredible stories, really easy reading, couple of 100 pages of whatever, but it's very easy reading. It's fun, it's entertaining. It's not like, opening up a textbook saying, oh God, we got more of this crap. No, this is fun, easy reading. Check out Lasorda University, and you can find it on Pick Your Favorite Place. I think Amazon has it. I believe even Barnes & Noble may have it, and if they don't, they will. Or you could just go ahead and just Google it, right? Just type in your search bar, Lasorda University, and then pick your favorite bookseller, whatever. They can get you directed to exactly where you need to go. And in fact, maybe even if you get a hold of Zach Manassian in the first place, what Zach may be able to do for you is sign the copy for you. Hey, you never know, right? I got one of those. Absolutely. And in case you don't know who Zach is he's a regular good guy, but he has a lot of baseball knowledge, a lot of experience. And by the way, his son happens to be the general manager for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Now, it's not often that they get a round of applause on this show, but because Zach's our friend and we like Zach. And the book is fun, easy reading. I gotta tell you, folks, just check it out. Lasorda University. Okay. All right, finishing up here with baseball real quick. Now, let's shift over to the American League. I did talk to the National League for a minute, and I told you how the New York Metropolitans beat the living daylights. There's Mr. Met for everybody watching on TV. There's Mr. Met, one of the coolest hats in baseball. So how the Mets just handed the Yankees their hats, and I mean, literally, they embarrassed the crap out of them. But anyway, looking back, the Yankees still have a game lead over the Baltimore Orioles, and the Orioles are no joke. And you know what? Even Boston is playing good baseball right now, too. They're 7-2 in their last 10. Well, actually, their last 9. That's only 9 games. But nonetheless, they're still 6 games over. And Tampa somehow competes every year, even after selling everything off. Tampa's actually 1 game under, but they're still right in the thick of things. And Toronto is the big head-scratcher. How the hell is Toronto 7 games under and in last place in the American League East? That makes no sense. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's the Clevelands. I don't even want to call them the Guardians. We'll just call them the Clevelands. I'll take that from Steve Stone from the White Sox broadcast. The Clevelands are actually 24 games over 500, and they are playing really good team baseball. I mean, these guys are good. The Twinkies are 6, 7, 8 games over 500, and the Royals are 6 games over. Now, they're all in striking distance. The Tigers are way under. The White Sox, well, they've seen better days. And over in the West, watch out, because you have Seattle with a dubious 4.5 game lead over Houston. And Houston now has won 7 in a row, 8-2 in their last 10. Seattle's 4-6 in their last 10. And let's face it, it's a 2-horse race right now because the Rangers, the world champion Rangers, well, they're 7.5 back and 6 games under 500. Not sure if they're going to make a run. And, of course, those Angels we mentioned are 13 under and 11 back, and the Oakland A's, well, they and the Chicago White Sox probably should go bowling. I don't know, maybe go play some golf. But when we look at those wild card standings, it gets kind of interesting. So we have New York, Cleveland, Seattle comfortably in front. The Yankees, somehow I think they're going to pull it out. The Orioles will certainly be in the playoff picture, so will the Twins, but it's going to be the last spot. It's going to be either Boston, Kansas City, Houston. I happen to believe somehow Houston's going to squeak their way in. Kansas City was supposed to be one of those playoff teams. They just don't have enough. They're maybe a player or two short. They spent $282 or $292 million, whatever the hell it was, on Bobby Witt Jr., who is absolutely one of the best players in baseball. But there's a big drop-off after that. And Pasquantino, you got Seth Lugo, a good pitcher over there. Brady Singer, another very good pitcher. But they're missing some pieces over in Kansas City. So I would argue that Houston would probably leap into that last wild card spot, which makes a hell of a lot more sense to me. But then again, what do I know? Apparently, I don't know nothing, if you know what I mean. So anyway, all right. So, I mean, look, players, sometimes they go on these administrative leaves. Some are not administrative leaves. So they go on these, we need a day off, right? They got to have a day off. I'm not really sure about that. We never had days off back when I played. And I talked to a guy like Darrell Evans who played 21 years in the league, managed for another 20 years in professional baseball. Darrell didn't take days off, but, you know, they played through pain. And so sometimes they got some meds, sometimes they didn't. And, well, let's face it, the meds are a part of it because, well, when you have achy bones, sometimes you take some kind of a painkiller. Of course, it's got to be legal. But here's the thing. You've got this big opioid problem in professional sports and in real life. Every day it seems like, there's an overdose here, something bad is happening here and there. I don't know what it is. But the one thing I can tell you is that there is a serious addiction problem with opioids in this country. And so the LA Times has reported that the Supreme Court, yes, upsets a $10 billion opioid settlement because it shields the Sacklers. Now just follow me on the story. I got a couple minutes to do this one here. Now, this is, again, according to the New York Times, the Supreme Court on Thursday rejected a mass settlement related to the nation's opioid crisis that would have paid an estimated $10 billion to victims. God knows there have been a lot of overdoses and a lot of misdiagnoses and hospitals and states and whatever that have actually given these out. Oh, guess what? We have to shield the Sackler family from further liability. By a 5-4 vote, the justices ruled that bankruptcy judges do not have a broad power to arrange a mass settlement of thousands of claims that include protection for people who are not bankrupt. Yeah. So the justices were split in the usual way. And let's face it, this is kind of what happens. Unfortunately, we have Justice Neil Gorish spoke for the majority, while Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. and Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Brett Kavanaugh dissented. Quote, by Gorish, quote, our only proper task is to interpret and apply the laws as we find it, and nothing in present law authorizes the Sackler discharge. Continuing on, we hold only that the Bankruptcy Code does not authorize release and injunction as part of a plan to reorganize under Chapter 11, effectively seek to discharge claims against a non-debtor without consent of affected claimants. That's what Gorish should continue to say. So Judge Clarence Thomas, Alito, Barrett, and Brown agreed. So, according to Kavanaugh said, quote, today's decision is wrong on the law and devastating for more than 100,000 opioid victims and their families. The court's decision rewrites the text of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code and restricts the long-established authority of bankruptcy codes to fashion fair and equitable relief for mass tort victims. As a result, opioid victims are now deprived of the substantial monetary recovery that they long fought for and finally secured after years of litigation, close quote. So Gorish and Kavanaugh are both conservatives, but they often disagree, and Gorish often seems determined to follow the law as he sees it regardless of the consequences, while Kavanaugh is more likely to focus on the practical impact of the court's ruling. The Sacklers, owner of the Purdue Pharma Company, had denied wrongdoing but agreed to contribute $6 billion to the settlement fund if they would be protected from further lawsuits. So it's basically the cease and desist kind of thing. Stop the bleeding. Why does this matter to everybody? Because people are affected. Everyday Joe and Josephine and professional athletes and actors and corporate people and even kids, they're affected. Millions of people are affected by opioids. And all this did was muddy the water a little bit more. So maybe you had somebody, God forbid, overdose on something. Well, guess what? The settlement? Forget that. It's not going to happen now, thanks to the Supreme Court. And that is, of course, a liberal agenda crap from the current administration. Hopefully, we're going to see a change in there real quick. 45 is now going to become 47. But at the end of the day, this whole thing is wrong. And this is where there needs to be some kind of power balance. And we don't have balance in the Supreme Court right now. And this is 100% wrong. And that's what happens when the court gets packed. And that's the word according to your Ringmaster Sal. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's show. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we will see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.